Chicago recently elected a new mayor by the name of Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson is even further left than Lori Lightfoot was. He promised when he got elected that his platform was that the state or the city government was going to stop misgendering people, that he was going to send social workers instead of police officers when people called 911, that he's going to allow illegal aliens to vote. This, by the way, as 2/3 of Chicago residents don't feel safe. And this is relevant to this video I'm about to show you. It's a very disturbing video. If you're with children or if you're with someone that you don't think can handle this, you might want to step away. It's only a 20-second video, but you got to see this. This video is what you're going to see is a mob of people, mostly black people, who are violently assaulting a white woman. This in broad daylight in the city of Chicago. Take a look at this. So we had to cut the audio for this video because it's just a bunch of profanity, and we're not gonna show that. That's just gratuitous on the show. As you can plainly see, this is horrible to watch. It's horrifying, horrendous to watch. A bunch of people violently assaulting a white woman in broad daylight in the city of Chicago. What is wrong with our country? What is going on? And I say that both because that's your visceral emotional reaction when you see a video like that, right? You think, how can people actually behave like this? Who does this? But it's also not a rhetorical question. It's not just an emotional reaction. What is going on? Why is this happening in the city of Chicago? Now, we know, of course, we can blame the politicians like this new mayor for focusing on the government, the city government, not misgendering people. Yeah, that addresses people's fear, that 2/3 of people in Chicago fear for their safety because of things like this. And this was just one that happened to be caught on video. You can blame politicians, and they should be blamed. They deserve the blame. They're responsible for allowing this kind of violence without prosecuting and arresting. They're responsible for law and order, and they're not obviously upholding their duty there. But broader than that, what you saw in that video, if you're sitting here feeling sick to your stomach, if you're sitting here feeling horrified, if you're sitting here finding it hard to believe that really truly happened out in the open during broad daylight in the city of Chicago, then you're missing the point. We're all missing the point. We're all missing the fact that this is the direct result of Black Lives Matter. So very, very recently, within the last couple of weeks on this show, we've been talking about queer theory, right? And we've been talking about how queer theory isn't just the transgender ideology, but that it's actually a Marxist theory. It's a derivative of critical theory, which is from the Frankfurt School in Germany. And the purpose of the critical theories is to use the classic Marxist oppressor-oppressed situation where Marxists pit one demographic of people against another and claim, Karl Marx said it was the workers that were oppressed by the ruling class. Queer theory says it's LGBTQIA people that are oppressed by straight, white, quote unquote, cisgender Christians. And the purpose of pitting two groups of people against each other is because they want violence. They want a revolution, and in order to revolt against someone, you have to do this. You have to stage this kind of violence. And we forget that critical race theory, which is the underpinning of Black Lives Matter is kind of the embodiment of critical race theory, that critical race theory is also a Marxist ideology. And that when you propagate lies, which is what the Black Lives Matter movement is built on, when you propagate these lies that say that white people are inherently racist, that they have white privilege, that every white person, regardless of what they do and how they think and how they act, and regardless of their character and their behavior, they are inherently racist. They inherently hate you because of the color of your skin, if you're a black person or a brown person. We forget what that does to black people, what that does to brown people, the fear and the anger and the desperation that sparks in black people. And we forget that the Black Lives Matter narrative is intended to spark that kind of fear and that kind of anger and that kind of desperation aimed at white people. This is the point of what the Black Lives Matter movement is doing. This is why they're propagating these lies, because they actually want exactly what we saw in that video to be happening. Critical race theory, like queer theory, is an inherently violent neo-Marxist revolutionary ideology. They're pitting one group of people against another, and the purpose of that is to spark violence. So this isn't just, oh, Chicago's out of control. This isn't just, oh, wow, this really crazy thing happened that we saw on video, this awful violence. This is exactly what the Black Lives Matter movement, exactly what critical race theory was intended to do. It's inherently violent. And the left, all the way up to the president of the United States, is propagating this in a way that is going to cause more violence and more harm to the citizens of this nation if we don't stop. Okay, so Ralph Yarl, this story's been making the headlines, and rightly so. This is a horrendous story. Given the facts that we know right now, this is a very bad thing that happened. Ralph Yarl is a 16-year-old black young man from Kansas City, a teenager from Kansas City, who was shot by an 84-year-old white man. And when I say the facts that we know right now about this story, we have been told that there was a racial element to this shooting. Now, Ralph Yarl survived this shooting, thank God. But what happened is this young man, you can see his face on the screen, this young man, he thankfully survived the shooting. He's a musical student, and what happened is he was going to pick up his younger siblings at a house, and he accidentally went to the wrong house. He got the address wrong, so he walked up to the door of a house that wasn't the house where his siblings were, and he rang the doorbell at this house, and in response to ringing the doorbell, the owner of this house, a man by the name of Andrew Lester, an 84-year-old white man, shot him through the door. Shot Ralph Yarl through the door. Ralph Yarl was hospitalized for multiple days. Fortunately, thank God, he survived. And he's been released from the hospital. And we've been told that there was a racial element to the shooting, that it wasn't just a deranged old man who was not being responsible with his firearm. I mean, it would be horrendous in that case also, but we're told that there's a racial component to this crime. At this point, I have no reason to disbelieve it, except for the fact that I question everything. We should question everything. This is the same media that perpetuated the narrative about George Floyd, that perpetuated the narrative about Michael Brown and Ferguson, right? They often tell us that shootings, especially shootings where the victim is a black man, is overtly racist, that it's white people inflicting violence or white people killing or shooting black people just based on the color of their skin. And the media, 9 out of 10 times, is wrong about this. They're doing it just to incite racial divide in our nation. So when I say, given the information that we know right now about this shooting, I say that because there's no reason, there's no proof that that the facts that we have right now are incorrect. And if these are the actual facts of the story, then this was a horrendous thing. If this old man, I mean, it's horrendous if the old man shot the young man regardless in this situation. There's one disputed fact that makes a huge difference in this story. Originally, it was reported that Ralph Yarl, when he went up to the door of this house, it was originally reported that he actually opened the glass storm door, that he didn't ring the doorbell, he just opened the door. Still doesn't justify the guy shooting him like that, but the teenager has denied that he opened the door. He said he actually rang the doorbell. That's a pretty significant difference. And here's the thing. When bad things happen in our country, when horrendous things happen in our country, when someone is shot unjustifiably, when they could have lost their life, I mean, this could have been a murder, basically. We have a criminal justice system. We have a criminal justice system that was designed for situations when people do bad things.
Hi guys, it's Liz Wheeler. Don't forget to watch my show, The Liz Wheeler Show, every night at 7 p.m. on the First TV. You can download the free First TV app, or you can visit thefirsttv.com/Liz and start watching today.